Welcome to the Elite Life Podcast with your hosts, Trisha and Kylie. Here, we guide you on a journey of personal and professional transformation, revealing the secrets to success. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, join us as we unlock the doors to the elite world of growth, grit, and grace. So, let's dive in.
What up, Elite Lifers? You found yourself in another episode of the Elite Life Podcast. I am Kylie.
I'm Trish.
And today we are going to talk to you about what would happen if you never tolerated inaction in yourself.
I love this question because it makes you think beyond procrastination and makes you question your comfort zones. Like, I want us to really reflect on how much we're truly limiting ourselves when we allow inaction to take root and drive the bus.
Yeah, so let's start with inaction itself. So, we've all totally been there. Those times when we're stuck, we're paralyzed either by uncertainty, by fear, or fear of failure. And inaction, it often feels safe. It's that cozy little cocoon where we can avoid risks, embarrassment, missteps. So it allows us to settle into what is familiar.
Yeah, and the thing is when you stay in your comfort zone, like...
nothing happens.
It's stagnation. It's absolute stagnation. And I watch people that are like, I need to get a job, but then they sit there and they spend 700 hours on their resume and then cultivating like this perfect content instead of just launching their business. Like, your inaction and your paralysis and your inability to get out of that comfort zone is losing your potential and momentum that you could be building.
It's killing your momentum. So step number one is going to just acknowledge the fear. Let's just acknowledge the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
I'm procrastinating on this because I don't want XYZ to happen. I am putting this off because I'm afraid that once I finish it, I'm not going to know what to do next. So it's okay. It's okay to say out loud what you're afraid of, what is holding you back, what's keeping you from doing XYZ. And once it's out there, you can say, all right, it's out there, it's in front of us, and you can start building an action step to get around it, under it, through it, all of that.
Yeah. And that's the thing is like to set small, achievable goals. What I want you to do is like, so I'm life coaching at the office, business and life coaching. And I've had some people come in with some like big things. Like, I want to do X. And it is
it me?
Yeah, it is huge. Well, everybody has their own big thing, I would say, because what's
That's
big
awesome.
to each person is like relative.
I
right?
love that everybody has a big thing.
Yeah. And they're like, I don't know how I'm going to get to here. And I'm like, you don't have to know. You don't have to know. What we need to do is say, okay, here's where we want to be. Let's break that down into what are 5 things that could get us there. What are 5 things that could get us there? What are 5 things that could get us there? And what are 5 things we can do between today and our next meeting in 7 days that would get you that 1% closer. That's it. What are 5 things we can do in the next 7 days? And that might be as small as listening to a podcast, as creating your first piece of content, as,
Finishing the webinar.
Getting on chat voice and role playing with chat voice, like very small actionable steps. Number 1, build confidence.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, help you to start to aim for progress over perfection. So many people wait for it to be perfect. And I'm like, dude, take action. Take messy action. If you look at my first post as Elite Realty, or when I see posts that Trisha in 2010 posted on Facebook, I don't even know who that girl was, but she was ridiculous.
She's under the rose bushes now, so we don't have to worry about it.
But I had to take action to get to where I am today.
Absolutely.
And keep taking action.
Yeah, 100%. And I think the other thing that you have to do is adopt a growth mindset. And so it's not just, envisioning yourself in that place. Like at our very first session, you were like, I want you to close your eyes and envision what it looks like, what it feels like when you are sitting here 365 days from now. But also when you have a growth mindset, your perspective of quote unquote losses is completely different. So for example, last week, remember, I didn't make any phone calls, but what did I do? I had a crap ton of showings. I had 2 buyer consults, a listing appointment, and I got an offer accepted. So even though on my business activity tracker, tracker, I had an entire row of zeros for my phone calls. I had a bunch of wins in the bottom buckets. And so when you have that growth mindset, you are looking for the wins and you are accepting, okay, I didn't pour into this bucket, but I poured into this bucket and I watered this one. So this week I started yesterday by going heavy on the phone calls and I made 35 phone calls. So it's really about having the mentality and switching your mindset to growth mentality.
Yeah, and you can always course correct, right? Like I think about it this way, like you can always course correct, but you can't steer a parked car. Like
No,
if you are stopped
I
and you
love
are
that.
doing nothing, you're doing nothing. Now I can take messy, ugly action, or I can, do a bunch of showings and I don't get my prospecting done. That's fine. I am still moving the needle forward.
Yes.
And the next thing is creating accountability, which is exactly what we're talking about. You have to have somebody to hold you accountable, a friend, a coach, a mentor.
Not your husband.
Not your husband. It can't be a yes man. It cannot be a yes man because your husband and my husband are going to be like, baby, you're doing great. You don't need to do any more. You worked really hard, right? You need
Have
people
a cookie.
like me and Kylie had in our life and have in our life that are like, girl, stop that. Get up off the floor, dust off your dirty shoes and get yourself back to work. And nobody cares. Your bills don't care if you're sick. Your bills don't care if you're sad.
They don't care. They're going to keep coming.
Your kid's tuition is getting automatically deducted from your bank account, so you better get that money made.
Absolutely. So make sure you have that accountability. Find that person and put together some kind of tracker, something that you can visually see. Because the thing is it's nice to have that accountability with a person, but when you sit down at the end of the day and you look at what you did or did not do, that'll weigh heavy on your soul as well.
And you should be turning it into your accountability partner. Like when I started my formalized coaching, one of the questions I asked on my intake sheet is, will you do homework? And I give homework every single time, because if I'm not doing homework and you're coming in and you're like, yeah, I'm doing good, or yeah, I'm doing bad, I don't know what you're doing. You're not turning.
Like, what are you doing, Sharon?
Yeah, you're not showing me anything. So like day one, they do that intake sheet, and the first thing I tell them is to do the ChatGPT prompts and bring it with them. Okay, now you brought it with you. Now we're going to build out your KPIs, and you have a KPI tracker. Great. Now you're going to turn that in. And if you're constantly failing on the same thing every single week, I'm going to go, Kylie, this obviously isn't important to you. We're taking it off of your sheet.
And we have done that. We took the laundry off.
Yeah.
We took laundry off.
We take things off, because that brings us to the next thing, which is limiting overthinking. People get
I am
stuck.
so good at overthinking. Oh my God, I'm so good.
All the overthinking. And I get in that mode too. I got in it last week where I once I get down that rabbit hole, it's over. It's so overboard. So you have to be able to immediately stop it. Quiet the inner critic.
Stop it right now. Stop saying that stuff.
I mean, people can do it with meditation, deep breathing, grounding exercises. I will tell you, I gave my inner critic a name. Her name is Aggie. Aggie is a BITCH, and she is awful to me, and she says all these bad things in my head. So when I start spiraling in the morning or at night with all this overthinking, I shouldn't have said this, I shouldn't have done that, I should have sent this email, I should have blah, 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 I'll be like, Aggie, shut your mouth. Shut your dirty mouth right now, because I wouldn't talk to my friends like that. So why do I talk to myself like that?
Yeah.
That's your overthinking critic in your mind, and you got to quiet her. Gertrude, Aggie, whatever you want to call her.
What did we name mine?
I don't remember yours.
I think it was Travis.
Oh, it was Travis.
That was Travis.
Yeah, Travis needs to shut his face.
Shut up, Travis. Don't tell me what I know, Travis. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do to keep the motivation going is celebrating small wins.
Yes.
And however you choose to do this, make sure that your celebrations do not impede your growth. That's all I'm just going to say.
Yeah, don't treat yourself with junk food because you lost 5 pounds. No, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. We're not going out for drinks when we landed a big client and we got to meet the big client the next day.
Yeah,
because
no,
you
don't
suck.
do that.
You're
don't
hungover.
do that.
Okay.
And the next thing we're gonna do is learn from others. So find a mentor, find someone, get a book, get in a group, find someone that you can learn from, whether it's someone who's ahead of you in the journey or someone who's just along the ride with you. I feel like there are so many things that we can learn from each other that maybe you didn't think about before, maybe a different perspective. We just had 2 guests in here today that just were amazing and just helped me kind of recalibrate my mind on how I think of things and how I talk to people and, angles and things like that. So make sure that you're learning from others. Never stop learning.
And people will say, well, like, I don't have a family, or I don't have friends, or I don't have time, or I don't have this.
Get on Facebook.
Get on YouTube, get on TED Talks, get on Facebook. Like, listen. The world is so amazing right now where you can go on Instagram and follow Mel Robbins and hear words of affirmation and inspiration from her every single day on Instagram. Every day.
Sign up for the Darren Hardy.
Yeah, the Darren Hardy daily.
The Darren Daily.
The Darren Daily that comes to my inbox every single day. Pastor Stephen Furtick drops a word in my inbox every single day.
Yeah.
Like, the world is so open today where anybody can be your mentor. I don't have to go ask Kylie to be my mentor. I can jump onto YouTube and subscribe to 5 shows like the Elite Life Podcast. You're here. And get my daily dose of inspiration every day. Brendan Burchard actually sends out the Daily Fire every single day. And I listen to 1 minute of him while I'm in my car and I'm like, boom, I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
What you put in your ears is what goes into your soul and what lights you on fire. So if you're only intaking negative stuff, that's going to put you in a negative space. Period. Bottom line. End of story.
Yep. And the last thing for this section is just revisit your why. So when Trisha had us do that Chat GPT thing where it gives you your affirmations and your why and things like that, your why, we've talked several times about your why. Your why can change through different seasons of life. It can change as you're going through this vision and this version of yourself and that version of yourself, but continue to revisit it, especially on the days when you are like, what am I doing? Why am I here? Or things are absolutely awful. Go back to those affirmations. Go back to the why of here's why I started this. Here's what I'm going to do. Maybe I just need a rest for tonight, but tomorrow I'm going to get up. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And I'm going to be on fire.
Yeah. David Goggins talks about his cookie jar. And that's what I resort to because I will have those days where I'm like, why am I doing this?
I mean, you literally asked me that the one week, a couple weeks ago. You're like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
What's
why
the
am
point?
I doing this anymore? And you know what I do? I go inside my mind and I think of the last moment where I felt really pure joy. And I was standing in my bedroom and I was looking out my window over the lake and I could hear Trent and Angelina on the jet ski and they're like, woohoo! Like the 2 of them together and they're just hooting and hollering on that jet ski. And I'm like, that's why I do this.
I thought you were going to say, I close my
this.
eyes and I'm standing in my office and I'm talking to Kylie on the phone.
I do it because I do feel so fulfilled watching you guys grow. Oh my gosh, it is the most amazing thing. When I coach with Morgan, shout out to Morgan. She is, after every single coaching session, she gives me a hug. And I'm like, this makes me feel so good that these sessions are so impactful that after every single one, you give me a hug. And it feels weird if she doesn't. I'm like, did I not do a good job? And she's like, get up and hug me. And I'm like, oh, I did do a good job.
Well, I don't hug you, but you are doing a good job for me as well. All right, so let's jump into the illusion of perfectionism. So this is a trap that we've all fallen into at one point or another. This can cause us to be inactive. So like Trisha was saying earlier, if you are working on a project, just launch it. Just get it to a point where you can launch it. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can fix it as you go. With the webinar that we just launched, I sent it out to only 2 people. They gave me feedback. I put that into play and we launched it. And here we go. So perfectionism is not real. It's not. And here's the thing. What you think looks perfect right now, when you look back in 5 years, you're going to be like, what was I thinking? So you might as well just send it out. You have to show up for win. You have to show up to win. And I am a very type A, like comparison, perfectionist type personality. But I think because I've been in business so long, I'm just like, launch it. Because I know I'm going to redo it 1 bajillion times. So I would rather have an agent binder in my hands to give to new agents and that be done and off my plate. And then as they come to me and they're like, hey, I noticed this. Great, I'll fix it. Hey, I noticed this. Great, I'll fix it. I literally every single year redo like 20 of our documents every year without fail. I'm doing this to the listing agreement. I'm doing this to the purchase agreement. I'm doing this to our my STARS training. I have had this STARS training for over 12, 13, 14, 15 years now.
And I have revamped it probably 1 billion times because I learned something new or the industry changes. Nearly every time I do stars training, I find something else that's like, oh, let me adjust this. Now let me adjust this. Let me adjust this. It's fine. Just get it out there.
Yeah. And that brings us to redefining success. So you can't define success by, oh, it's perfect. Let's go. Mm-hmm. You need to redefine success as, instead of aiming for perfection, like, okay, this is good, this is progress, that's success. So whatever is progressing and pushing your needle forward, let's count that in the success bucket and call it a day.
Yeah, it's literally about the effort, not the outcome. And I love that because when I watch agents do their their 411s and their goals, a lot of times they'll be like, I need to have 6 closings. Well, you can't control if you have 6 closings.
Nope, let me tell you that. You cannot.
You can control if you make 200 phone calls. You can control if you push 6 pieces of content. You can control if you go out into 3 networking events. You can control if you put your business card in this many hands. You cannot control how many closings you have. You can control the controllables, which is what you do. It's the effort you put in. And there was, who was I listening to the other day? It was Sarah Blakely from Spanx, my favorite person. Of course I was listening to her. And she was saying that in her household, when she grew up and they would sit at the kitchen table with her dad would be like, what did you fail at today? And if they didn't have something they failed at, then they weren't taking action. They weren't putting in effort. So they were actually excited to fail. They were like, today I failed at, running the 800 in 5 minutes. I only ran it in 6 minutes or 10 minutes. Like they would say like what they went out to do. And yes, they failed, but they took the effort and they were taking action. And every day they were looking for a new way to take action and put in effort and try something new.
That's
right?
Intense. That's
super intense. But guess what? She's a bajillionaire now.
Yeah, no, not even mad at her. Not even mad at her. So the next thing is start before you're ready. So the truth is you will never ever feel 100% ready. And I always think of when people are like, we'll have kids when we're ready. It's like, no, you will never be ready to welcome a child in the world. Just do the thing to make the baby have the baby. Okay. It'll work itself out. And this is what's so funny is like, I run into so many people who are like, oh, we'll have another baby when we have, a 3-bedroom house, or we'll have another baby when like they want to have another baby. They want to expand. And I'm like, I had 3 kids in 1 room and my youngest child never had a crib. He slept in a pack and play, because it got the job done. It wasn't perfect, but I got the job done. Nowhere do I regret having all of my kids in that room because we broke up a lot of fights, but my kids are so close. They are so close. So start before you're ready. Just like we talked about before, just launch it. Just do it. Just do it.
Well, here's the thing too, and this is like a total change of the vibe, but like you may never get that time to be ready. Like I was listening to this podcast and it had this hospice nurse on it, and she was talking about how that is the biggest regret of people at the end of life is that they just didn't do what their authentic, happy self wanted to do. Like she was saying there was this woman and she was in this bad relationship and she kept saying like she wanted to do all these things and she would just do them after her husband died because her family looked down on divorce and her family looked down on divorce. So she was waiting to live her life. And then he died and then she got diagnosed with terminal illness like 3 days later. Guess what? She didn't get to do any of the things she wanted to do. She didn't get to any of the things she wanted to do because he died, which is what she was waiting for, and then she died. And that is awful. That is horrible. And so you can't wait. You don't know. Nobody's promised tomorrow or next week or next month. So if there's something you're excited about doing, whether it's baking pies or traveling across the world, like you said, like timing is not going to be perfect. And perfection is a social construct anyways.
It's not real.
What we think is great, somebody else thinks is awful. That's why we're so popular in India, because we're amazing apparently. We're just okay in the US, but in India, we're the bomb.com.
So this brings us to embracing the power of good enough. So if you're working at with that webinar we were putting together, I had to come to a spot where I was like, this is good enough. Get it out. Nothing will ever be perfect. Embrace the power of good enough. Okay. I had to deal with it. Y'all know I got 3 kids. My house is never clean, but it's always good enough.
It is. And that brings us to the next one, which I'm always on you for. Shift from planning to doing. Do not spend all your time making lists, lists, making plans. I'm like,
I've been
how many
doing
times
so
have I been like, you're done
good.
planning.
Yes.
You're done planning. Kylie, you are done. There's no more planning. No more sheets. No more planning. You are just
And I've been doing so good. I spend one day a month planning my entire next month because that gives me joy. I set aside one whole day where I will just make a couple phone calls, but I spend that whole day saying, here's what I need to accomplish in the next 30 days. Put that shizzo on the calendar, boom. And I send it to Trisha. I'm like, I planned today. And she's like, good. I don't want to hear nothing about planning for another 30 days.
Yeah. And
Done.
the next one says to celebrate imperfect wins. So I like this. I like this better than celebrating failure. I like this language better. So instead of even saying it's failure, let's talk about it as an imperfect win, right?
Give me an example because I need to know what an imperfect win is.
An imperfect win would be like, hey, I didn't hit that 6-minute mile, but I did finish a mile in 7 minutes and 30 seconds. Guess what? You ran a mile and it was faster than you ever ran it. So yeah, you didn't hit the 6-minute mark, but you ran it in 7:30. It's a new PR. It's something to build from. So instead of calling that a failure, let's talk about it as an imperfect win. It is still a win. You still ran a mile. You still burned calories. You still got faster. You still went out there and tried. It's not exactly how you wanted it to be, but it's still amazing.
Yeah, life is very rarely comes out how you want it to be, which brings us to reframing failure as learning. Like I have started to embrace that wasn't a loss, that was a learning opportunity. And there have been a lot of those between, being in a marriage, raising kids, being in real estate, starting my own business, doing this, doing that. Like when you think about it and you're like, man, I didn't get this done or I didn't do this or whatever, like reframe it as it not as like I failed at this, but like, here's what I learned. I learned not to do that again.
Yeah. Yeah, and getting out of that all or nothing mindset, like I sometimes say like I'm an all in or I'm not doing it kind of thing. And the thing is, it's like I say that, but I don't act like that. Like I am very much one of those like a little progress is better than none. If I have to write down my goals and I only spend 1 minute on it, it's better than not doing it at all. If I get the time and the energy to spend 15 minutes on it, that's great. But sometimes I'd rather just write a goal and be done with it. And that's still action. That's still checking into my goals. That's still making sure I'm being consistent. I'm being disciplined. I'm doing the things like if I get on my bike and I pedal for 20 minutes, it's better than pedaling no minutes.
Right.
I may have been scheduled to do it for 2 hours, but I don't have 2 hours in me because it's 11 p.m. and I'm exhausted and I don't even want to get on here for 5 seconds, better yet the 20 minutes that I'm spinning. But it's something. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. I don't have to say, well, the day is over. It's 11 p.m. I can pop on there for a few minutes.
Yeah.
Ain't gonna kill me. Help me decompress.
Yeah, there you go. So also this kind of goes back with the accountability. Surround yourself with action takers. Mm-hmm. Surround yourself with people who are taking action on their dreams, on their goals, on their lives, on everything. And if you are the one in your life, go out and find the people who are taking action. And we've talked about this, I feel like in interviews in the past where it's like, I looked around and I realized all of the people around me were stagnant. I think it was on Andy's Don't Be Trash. They were stagnant, they were drinking, they were eating. And I realized I didn't want to do that. And so I started going out and I started making friends with entrepreneurs. I started making friends with these people, making friends with these people. And sometimes it sucks to leave those other people behind. You can still be friends with them, but you need to surround yourself with people who are taking action so that you can also maintain that forward momentum that is a blessing in your life.
Yeah, and you have to be intentional about cultivating those relationships. Like when you see, like entrepreneurship is very isolating. It's very isolating because, there's nights where I come out of the office and it's 10 p.m. Guess what? My car's the only one in the parking lot. And there's like 12 businesses in our strip mall and I'm the only one there and I'm by myself. So I have to be intentional about cultivating relationships with like-minded people. Like tomorrow I have on my calendar to hang out with Erica Kruppen. I am like, when we hang out, I'm like, all right, let's set our next hangout. Because if not, like last time, 6 months had gone by since the last time I seen her, 6 or 8 months. And I'm like, you are somebody who like, when we get together, we're vibing, we're building, we're growing, we're inspiring each other. Like,
and she's super fun.
Super fun. And so it's like, those are the people I want to be around, but I have to be very intentional about cultivating that time and being like, hey, let's hang out on this day at this time and let's go do this and like, let's keep this plan no matter what. or else all that time will go by. And it's great to have friends that you can pick up with like that, but it's even better to be able to like mastermind together and grow together and like have those creative juices working together and help each other out, right?
Yeah. So I guess our challenge to our listeners this week is to take one imperfect step towards something you've been putting off, whether it's losing weight or going on a diet or starting this plan or starting a business or researching that or going to church or whatever it is. Like, I want you to take one imperfect step forward. Think of one thing that you can do that would move you towards that goal. And then I want you to share it on your social media and put hashtag Elite Life Podcast so that we can see it, we can cheer you on, and we can come alongside you and just watch your journey and just clap for you as you go.
I love that. And I think that that is like a perfect spot to wrap this episode because
I do.
I feel like I love everything we've said. We've gave everybody a lot of action items and a lot of things to think about. And
I feel like we rapid fired the crap out of everybody.
yeah, so
today.
go through and re-listen, share it with a friend, listen to it again. I do that a lot. I will listen to a podcast and then I have to sometimes listen to it like 2 or 3 or 4 more times because it's just, there's so much good stuff in there.
Yeah, so we just want to make sure that we are always giving you value. We are always coming alongside you and encouraging you to be better, encouraging you to do the things, because like Trisha said, nobody's promised tomorrow. Nobody's even promised the next moment. And the last thing you want is to come to the end of your journey here on earth and feel any regrets.
Yeah. Trust that process, friends. Keep moving, keep growing.
And don't forget, you will regret if you don't subscribe to this show, okay? True. So make sure you sub the show, share it with a friend, and come back next week because we drop fresh content every Thursday here on The Elite Life.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us today on the Elite Life Podcast with Trish and Kylie. Don't forget to share this episode with a friend so we can keep delivering you more fantastic insights on grit, grace, and growth. Stay connected with us on Instagram and Facebook, where we'll keep the ideas flowing to help you build a life you love and leave a legacy you can be proud of. Until next time.